yeah, so I'm going to be teaching and illustrating, giving the concepts that are important and also showing some examples of counterplay. So yeah, that's my intro. You can just unmute so that we know at least who's in the house tonight. And yeah.
Good evening / morning. I'm Rowan. I'm currently in New Zealand and I'm pretty eager to learn.
Ah, wonderful. Welcome all the way from New Zealand. Good to have you here, Rowan.
Hi, Dione, it's Burton here, and next to me is...
Hi, it's me, Darren.
Hi, Darren. How are you?
Good.
Good evening, Burton. Ah, that's good. Welcome, guys. Good to have you here.
Hey, what's it here? Like it today, make it.
Ah, that's good. Good to have you here. Good evening.
Welcome, Lucian.
Oh, finally.
Okay.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock now, so we can get started when you're ready, Coach. I don't know if you have a webcam you want to use so we can see your beautiful face, so we can get those clicks on YouTube, you know, get a clickbait going.
No, that's cool. I'll show my face. Yeah. Okay. Try not to scare people away from the lesson. Huh? Right. Okay. So let's begin. I just want to get the document open so I can go to the leeches, and then we'll go. So I would like us to enjoy ourselves tonight and to have fun whilst doing it. As I've been saying recently, we mustn't play chess like we are drinking lemons without sugar, lemon juice without sugar. Chess must be fun. That's the only way we can really stay in this crazy game called chess, is if we are having fun and we are enjoying it. And a part of having fun is just applying the many skills that we have, the many knowledges that we have to try and always to learn more, to already affirm what we know, and to ask questions. So maybe I can just open it up. Please tell me a few things that you understand about counterplay. Counterplay in chess, not counterplay in football now, for those Liverpool supporters.
One thing I have noticed about Counterplay, I was looking recently, is all these famous games you see these games from like the 1800s, where you see these brilliant games, and their opponents always curl up into a ball. They go as passive as possible. They hang on to material. Whereas your top grandmasters nowadays, they don't hesitate sacking pawns or exchanges to try and get that counterplay, which I find interesting.
Definitely. Very good point, Cuthbert. Thank you. Who else would like to submit what they know about counterplay in chess?
You just have to look at sort of like weak squares that your opponent has, so and try and make uses of those squares, like getting your knight on a good square. So you're sacrificing whatever you can to get your knight there, or if you have the dark red bishop, try and attack the dark squares.
Okay. No, that's thank you, Rowan. Okay. Who would like to add their points on counterplay? Yeah, just what you think. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I just want to hear where we are in general. So this is part of the lesson. We have started already, so don't think I'm just buying time. So I'm asking because I do actually want to know what you think.
So for me, Dione, counterplay, I'm just thinking like it's, you know, your opponent is playing, and with whatever his plans is, whether he's attacking you or whatever, and it is how you respond and what your plans are in yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Thank you. Your plans, how you respond to the opponent's moves, of course. Very good. Okay, who else would like to add a point on that? I think Lucian is there with us. Lucian, what do you think about counter-attacking chess? Well, I hope you all can hear me. This mic acts up sometimes.
Can you hear you loud and clear?
Ah, wonderful. Okay, Lucian, what do you think about counter-attacking in chess?
My understanding is, for instance, if you are being attacked now, you are being attacked, but now there is this situation whereby your opponent miscalculate, or he does calculate, but now attacking on the queen side, for instance. But now what you are doing is you're counting your counter attack on the king side. Like now it will be the matter of fact on there will be one move difference in that situation. If you understand what I'm saying, or if I'm explaining it the right way.
No, I get the point you're trying to bring across. Very good, thanks. Okay, Bafana, welcome. I'm just asking a question. What do you understand about counter-attacking in chess? Hello, Bafana, you're with us? Yes.
I think your counter attack works when like your opponent is attacking your pieces, and like their pieces that are unprotected, like when he attacks on the king side and on the queen side, there are no pieces there, so you attack there so you can get a tempo when like he tries to protect the pieces, so you counter attack.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you, Bafana. All right, so I think Darren hasn't submitted what he thinks about counter-attacking in chess. Darren, what do you think about counter-attacking chess?
Normally when you under-attack them, when the opponent relieves the pressure, then you can quickly switch up the attack to your advantage.
No, very good. Thanks, Darren. And I think welcome Isaac D. Welcome to the session. I'm just asking a question around is what do you think about counter-attacking in chess? Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I just logged in here. I'm just at work now. I'm just checking now and screening. That's all. I can't talk a lot, man. I'm just checking and then I have to go to my workplace again.
Oh, okay. No, that is fine. It's okay.
Sorry for that, man.
No problem. It's okay. Thanks for joining in. Okay, so yeah, let's begin. So we are going to. So I like the definitions that have gone around, particularly the point that many players, particularly those low at club level, let's just say in general, but in particular, the beginner is usually in two minds. The beginner thinks that chess is only about attacking and defending. So if someone is attacking, they will give up attacking. They'll just be playing defensive moves, until they are overwhelmed and then they lose. Because for the beginner, it's very black and white. It's either I'm attacking or I'm defending. And as well, even at, because as you see here, the tag that I put at the bottom, every chess player loves to attack, right? But the player who can attack and defend, these are the players that win the prizes. These are the players that come first in the tournaments and win the awards because they are balanced in their chess understanding. Because usually it's much more easier to attack than it is to defend. Because when you see checkmate, you can't miss checkmate. You get excited and you find it. But defending is really the first thing that needs to be done when you counter attack, because it has been said the best defense is attack. That's what it means to counter attack. The best defense in chess is to counter attack. Particularly Ruben Fine, very famous chess player who contributed to a lot of chess theory. He is famous for saying this, that the best defense is attack. You don't want to be like what Michael said. The grandmasters, they don't just defend passively and just make bad moves until their opposition loses. The grandmasters are always smelling when the moment is there to turn the tide, as it has been raised by a few people, that's the opportunity. But also really the key thing is not just to wait when the opponent's attack fizzles out. The real essence of counter-attacking chess is just make some diagrams, is like this, so that we see it in its simplest form. So I'll just make a situation here on the board. Say we have something like this. Okay, maybe this bishop will need to be translated somewhere else. Let me put it here. The king now. So in its very simple definition, this could be given as an example of counter-attacking. Of course, maybe here this position won't make sense because the bishop is already attacking the rook. But anyways, to avoid, I know some of you are very technical players. You try to understand how such a position could have been reached. So to avoid any disputes, I'll make a position that makes sense. Something like this. Good. So say in this position, black has played bishop a6, attacking our rook on c4. Now we know that our rook is worth 5 points, right? And the bishop is worth 3 points. So the opponent is making a threat. This is a real threat. And it's important, we must only focus on defending real threats. The real problem is many chess beginners in general. I know this is the advanced class, but I'll just reference the chess beginner in terms of what not to do, right? The chess beginner always panics when they are attacked. They don't think about anything. The blood rush goes to the head, common sense goes out the door. I'm under attack, I must go on defensive mode. I must just panic it's panic stations. But really, we only defend real threats. And there is no other reason to defend anything else except if it's a real threat. If it's not a real threat, it must not be defended. You don't want to waste precious time defending something that's not real. But here, this is a real threat. The opponent threatens to capture our rook next move, and we are going to be down with a pawn in this endgame, and we don't want that. So the very essence of counter-attacking chess means when your opponent attacks something of a particular value, like we have said here, that the rook is worth 5 points, we in turn attack something of higher value. We make a bigger threat. That's what counter-attack means in chess. When your opponent attacks something of a particular value, you make a threat of a higher value. So now black has to respond to this threat, right? There is no other way. I mean, we could even make it like this actually, so that it really strikes home the point. Is here we can even leave this entire rook hanging on c4. Although we are going to give up a queen for 2 rooks, but that's fine. The endgame favors the opponent because we have queen d6 afterwards, picking up the pawn. But to illustrate the point of counterattack, that's the purpose of this diagram. We have been attacked here, but we attack something of higher value, which is the queen. So the queen would need to move. Yeah, so that's what counterattack means in its simplest form. It's simply when the opponent attacks something of a particular value, you attack something of higher value. The rook is 5 points. We attack something worth 9 points. So our threat is stronger than the opponent's threat. And this is what it means. The best defense is attack. Many players would just play such a move like, or yeah, at least you can't run away. But if we make the position a bit more favorable for the rook to run away and not attack something, say we can add a pawn or 2. Yeah. Let's just add a pawn so that it's a little bit balanced. Here, many players would choose to play some move like rook a4. My rook is attacked. I need to run. You know, why should I think of anything else? But really, the mindset that I hope at the end of this session that we leave with, the impression would be whenever the opponent attacks something of mine, I mustn't panic and just either run away or add more defenders, because typically there are a few ways to defend. When someone attacks something of yours, you must move it away, or you must defend it a second or third or fourth time. Or the other option is to find a counter-attacking possibility. Let that be the first response. Don't react. You want to respond to attacks, because when you react to someone attacking, you always play second best moves, or even really moves that end up losing the game. So, but many beginners would just be happy to play a move like this, or any move that runs away. Rook e4, just, I don't want to be attacked. But the mentality is try to come to thinking firstly, how can I make a stronger threat? Like now that the pawn is on b3, this position is a little bit sensible, so that even if the bishop captures, I can capture it back, we'll still have a winning position. So now this is a real counter-attacking move. The queen must move away, because this doesn't work anymore as it would have worked in the other position, because now this position is simply winning. Queen versus rook is winning for white, and it's even worse, there's still pawns on the board. We have the threat of queen d6 coming, capturing everything here. You know, black can resign. Queen b2 check is on the position. There is no defense. This would be losing. So this diagram is much more accurate for what I wanted to impress on your minds. Black played an attacking move. The bishop came from c8 to a6, attacking, making a real threat. We counter-attacked in turn, attacking something of higher value. 5 to 9, 9 points must be moved. Otherwise, if the opponent carries on with his plan, this would be not successful for him, because our threat is bigger than his threat. So that's really what it means to counterattack. You create a threat that is bigger than the opponent's threat. This throws off your opponent, and they have to respond to your threat. Okay, so if there is any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions. But I hope now we have at least a very simple picture of what counterattack is, with the concept said, but now we can see it on the real board, what it is about counterattacking. And this is the mentality that you want to train. It's something that it doesn't jump on you. You must practice this habit to think of whenever I am attacked, and please, again, we only defend real threats, not fake threats. Don't even waste your time. So let's go through these games by some very important chess player. Grandmaster Peter Leko, or as I like to say when I speak of him, the very strong Grandmaster Peter Leko, playing versus Alexei Shirov. These are very important chess players. Alexei Shirov, a famous attacking chess player, very aggressive. Peter Leko is famous for his outstanding understanding of chess. Many players, particularly the top players, always give respect to this man's understanding. His understanding of chess is remarkable. He understands positions. You know, sometimes players just know moves, but this guy will tell you where these moves are coming from. So this is a big match. Positional chess versus aggressive chess, right? Positional chess simply means you are playing to get small advantages move by move. Aggressive chess, they want to take it. They want to take you into the forest where the door is big enough for one person, and 2 + 2 is equal to 5. Right? The famous quote by Grandmaster Mikhail Tal. So let's see what happens. Two different schools of thought. So just giving you that introduction should give you at least some of the things to expect in this game. There are two different styles coming together here. So we have the Sicilian Defense. So let's see who plays the Sicilian Defense here. No one plays the Sicilian Defense.
I play the dragon on occasion.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, usually the Sicilian Defense is a very counter-attacking opening for black. It's one of the most popular moves at the highest level. At the moment, it's being played quite a lot, in fact. It's top level chess. The Sicilian Defense, really black tries to counter-attack from the beginning, because this opening is counter-attacking by nature. Because this square is the key square in the Sicilian Defense, this d4 square. So black immediately fights to control for that square, because black wants to change his wing pawn for the central pawn and get a half open c file, and he'll maintain his 2 pawns to change the situation. That's why many players struggle to play against the Sicilian, because the center is not defined. The pawns usually stay here, make a small center, and it's not easy to find plans usually against the Sicilian. If you have not really studied these openings and understand the plans and all of these other things. So the game is going to be a fighting game. And we see it by the choice of opening. They have played here the open variation. So things are going to be happening, because there's many possible lines in the Sicilian. Here they could play what's being played recently again, the Rossolimo, bishop b5. No, they just play some position. And then, but this is the most interesting one, the open variation. So there's a lot of theory here. That's one thing. Of course, Michael says he plays it on occasion, but usually when you choose to play the Sicilian Defense, you must really brace yourself to memorize a lot of ideas, lines in general, but really the concepts. So here, a6, we go into the most popular position, the Najdov defense. Very, very strong. So it's going to be fun. Bishop e2 is the more quiet move here. It's more the classical line. You know, it suits our player's style of play. Just simple, gain small advantages, makes a development move. You know, the bishop is quite solid. It stops the knight from jumping to g4 if the bishop goes to e3. So now, again, now we see the two different kinds of players we have. This guy starts attacking already. We are making something happen, but this is the main line anyways, this e5 move. Sorry, bishop e7, castles, and bishop e3. Now that's the point of including bishop g4. We stop this knight from jumping to g4 because it wants to harass our bishop. So everything here so far is just standard. As we can compare with the opening book, this is all standard moves. They're still very much in the database. And here, queen d2, knight b to d7. So black has managed to finish developing all of his pieces, same as white. Black just needs to find a place to put their queen, and white is already in the middle game because the rooks are smiling at each other. So now we're going to start coming up with plans. Right, I know our subject here is to focus on counter-attacking chess, but before we start, sorry about that, Lucian. Hopefully your network can be stable. Yeah, network is not fun sometimes, but yeah, hopefully to be stable soon. But I do believe the guys are recording this, so whatever you miss, you can always catch up on the recordings. Yeah, but hopefully to be able to come right so that you can also journey with us through these interesting games. So as I was making that point, that usually our focus is counter-attacking chess. right? Those 3 points that I've given. So don't fear having to sacrifice, active defense, and strike back, right? Sometimes even if it's not correct, like for instance, many people criticize Mikhail Tau, the former world champion, that some of the things he did were not accurate compared with the computers. Usually these are players under 2200 who speak like this, or even really players who are there, but they have a computer sitting next to them. Listen, sometimes you must make practical decisions, and that's one thing you need to understand about counterplay. You must understand chess is a practical game. As the Tatarkova famously said, that chess is a fairy tale of 1001 blunders. Right? He even goes again and says the point even further. The blunders are all there on the chessboard waiting to be made. Right? So human beings, we make mistakes. That's a given. We must, and really chess is a struggle for error. This book here, The Art of Defense by Sortis, he measures that point and really wants the player. I haven't read through the book yet, but the little bit I've looked at is quite interesting. But he mentioned something that I really never thought about it, but it's really important to accept that the game is going to involve mistakes and blunders. If you don't accept this very real and true statement about chess, you are really going to struggle in your chess career, because certain players don't make progress because they are still obsessed about playing perfect moves. There is no such things, right? You must understand that chess is full of mistakes, particularly when you play practical chess. Counterplay is really a practical tool. When you are sitting at home with your computer and you can annotate, you can record the games, you can go as far as you want and make sure you understand all the possible things that can happen. But during the game, you don't have the luxury. One, you don't also have the mentality. Like as we have said, if every player loves to attack, that naturally means no one likes to defend, right? Because the opponent will keep making threats. If you don't make a mind shift, you lose the game very quickly. So it's fine even if you have to sacrifice and make a move that is not accurate, just so that you are able to throw your opponent off. There's a young player who's very famous now for it, or at least he's young at the highest level, but he's already in his 20s. Danil Dubov. He's not afraid to make a move that is not even suggested by the computer, so long as it throws the player off psychologically. So usually, sometimes the obsession with perfect moves really hinders your chances as a chess player. Be obsessed about finding practical moves that will create problems for your opponent. As I've been saying, a game came to mind that hopefully we'll be able to go through it just for entertainment and illustration and purposes. It's not one of the games I've added here, but yeah, I think it will be good to supplement with that. So let's quickly move on. So here, what I wanted to highlight anyways was this. So we have come out of the opening. White has managed to develop everything. So now in the middle game, who wants to tell me what is the number one thing to do in the middle game? The number one thing you must do when the middle game is started or is about to start. What is the number one thing you must do? Oh, okay. No one wants to answer. Maybe I'll pick someone. Okay, let's ask Tyler. Tyler, what is the number one thing that you need to do in the middle game? I hope you can all hear me, because I know my mic is a bit crazy sometimes. Tyler, you can hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you fine. I will also just add, if people are too shy to speak, there is a chat feature which they can also type in. Should I throw my answer in the hat, or shall we wait for?
Yeah, definitely you can.
It's kind of a tricky question because I feel like there's a lot of things. Putting the number one, I would think attacking the king or coming up with attacking a weakness or something like that would be my thoughts.
No, very good point. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, my thought would be to get your pieces to strong squares.
Okay, get your pieces to strong squares. Okay, thank you. Okay, Tyler, you don't want to give us a shout or a point? Even chat, you can put. Yeah, because I have said that some of you came a little bit later, but I was saying that I want to try for us to have a very engaging lesson. Because if you are not thinking actively with me and you are not participating, I don't want you to just sit here in this lesson and leave the same way you came. I'm hoping that at least by the end of the lesson, something will be imprinted on your mind about your chess, and it will impact you, particularly on the subject at hand, which is counterplay. But of course, we can't just fizz throughout the whole game and just speak about that one portion. Why not use the advantage to also highlight on some things? Because counterplay comes from this key thing I'm trying to say. But okay, let's continue. So the things that have been raised are accurate, but the emphasis is this. In the middle game, okay, where can I? Yeah,
Hi, Dion.
Yes.
Can I say something? When I play chess, normally on the computer, like when I see those two openings, is very strong. And for me in the middle game is what I do is I normally check out if there's a weak piece that is lying around. Even if I have to sacrifice a piece to get that piece normally in the center. That's how I play normally. That's my opinion.
Okay. No, thank you, Isaac. Thank you. So let's continue. Very good submissions, and they are there. The number one thing in the mid game. The number one thing is to find targets, and these targets include some of the things that have been said. The king, attacking the king. And it's not. And by the way, don't worry if you are shy about this. I've also recently learned that the middle game is a part of the game that many players don't actually understand, because actually no one really tackles the subject of the middle game and really make it easy to understand. So it's not a strange thing that we take a few minutes, because we know a lot of things, we have heard a lot of plans, a lot of things, but just to have a general thing, because we know for the opening, there are three things you need to focus on in the opening, really two, but three things we can throw in the other one since it's important in all parts of the game. But the two and most important things in the opening is this: controlling the center and developing pieces. Every move that's made in the opening must be judged on these two things alone. If your move doesn't develop a piece, doesn't control the center, it's a bad move. And the third thing that can be thrown in there, that's important in every part of the game, is king safety. If your king is not safe in chess, you are not going to have any chance to do well. So, but the two and four most important things to govern every single move that is made in the opening is development, controlling the center. In the middle game, it's also that simple. You must have targets. Number one, attacking the king. Number two, weak squares, because they will also mention these things: weak squares, weak pawns, and bad pieces. Right? Sometimes, as it has been said, if the opponent has a bad piece, they have a bad game. Right? So usually, if you can just get the opponent, that is okay, Isaac. Thank you for your time and your addition. It's good. But I think you get the recording, so you won't miss too much. It's cool. Thank you. So weak squares, weak pawns, bad pieces. So that is the number one thing, is to find targets. And then you make plans. You make plans on how to attack or defend those targets. Now, someone has to attack, someone has to defend. So if I'm the one attacking your king, your plan should be, how can I defend my king? No, that's okay, Tyler. Don't worry. It's cool. Thanks. So here, your plans on how to attack or defend those targets, it's either an attacking plan or a defending plan. So now, with that illustrated, let's carry on. So here now, White is starting with the plan. Now, his plan, as we saw earlier, is to attack this weak square. And usually a plan in chess is 3 to 5 moves long. If you play with someone strong, you can't be allowed to have a plan from move 1 until move 30. It's not possible. So usually when you play someone who's going to be asking themselves this very important question all the time. By the way, as we are learning counterplay, this is the most important question to ask yourself in chess. Maybe let me first ask it and let's see if someone can get it. What is the most important question every chess player must ask themselves whenever the opponent makes a move? You can unmute.
What's my opponent's plan?
What's your opponent's plan? Very good, right? So there's many ways to put that one, but what does the opponent want to do? What is the threat? What is my opponent's plan? What do they have in mind? What does my opponent want to do? If you practice asking yourself this very simple question over and over again, it becomes part of your thought process. And I must encourage this, if you, because this is the advanced group, so I must really encourage it strongly. You guys have the potential to go into 18, 2000, and who knows how far you can go, depending on how much time you have to work on chess. Really start making a diligent effort to sit and just practice that simple question over and over again. Find a game, like for instance, there's too many games here, but find a game, start from move 5, and just start asking yourself, after every move, what does my opponent want to do? So usually a game is about 40 moves long. So if you do this from move 5, you are doing about 35 times asking yourself this question. You do about 10 games. You have asked that same question some. Sorry, Tyler, you wanted to say something?
No, it's fine, sir. I was just thinking about it.
All right. So by doing this, you practice that habit of being in your opponent's mind. That is the only way you can be good at defending and counterplaying, is if you have cultivated this habit to know what does the opponent want to do. Because other than that, you are going to be, because the reason why many players make a mistake in, I think someone mentioned it when I was asking the definition for counterplay, they'll leave a weakness on one side. Because typically beginners have a tunnel vision, or many chess players. Let's not pick on the poor beginner now, please. All chess players have tunnel vision. They only focus on what they are attacking. They believe in their mind, I have seen the greatest attack, the opponent has zero chance. Right? Don't raise hands if this resonates with you. My plan is too strong. My opponent will never find the defense. And on the first move, they find the very simple defense, and you are like, your head is in your hands. Right? So many players think like that. They overestimate their plan and miss basic thing, like a back rank mate, you know, losing a free piece because they were just focusing on one part of the board. So there are two things that you need to cultivate. Ask your opponent, what does he want to do, or what do they want to do? And also try to see the full board. It's a good habit to practice to see the entire chessboard, because many players make the mistake on focusing on one part of the board. That's how they make a lot of mistakes in defense or in an attack. So now Mr. Lekwa has found his plan. He has found a weak square. So quickly, what is the definition of a weak square?
A weak square is a square that is not protected by a pawn.
Very good, Takudzu. Very good. A square that cannot be attacked by a pawn is a weak square. So we are going to make it our target. And our plans, and also our piece position tells us where to attack. Our bishops are pointing to the queen side. We have 2 knights here. So our plan, white's plan should be to attack on the queen side. This is a bonus thing. Never attack on the side where you are weaker. White is weak on the king side. So it makes no sense to start attacking on the king side or even in the center. Black center is too strong. They have all these pieces controlling the center. It makes no sense whatsoever to have a plan of attacking the center. So white's plan should be to play on the queen side. Quickly, let's see what happens. So now he has achieved his goal. White will get, the knight comes there. So now we have the bishop pair for black. So black has a good counterplay for the weakness, right? So usually chess, I've learned this recently and I think it's brilliant, that chess is a game of negotiation. If you are someone who, if they are offered this deal, someone comes up and say, hey, I have 500 rands, give me 4,000 rands. And you're like, no, that deal sounds great. Here's the, give me the 500 rand and here's the 4,000 rand. You are not going to go far as a chess player if your negotiation skills allow you to lose 3,500 rands in a deal. It's bad negotiation skills. Chess is a game of negotiating. Right? You must always try to negotiate. If you are giving up something, you must get something in return. So Mr. Shirov lost a weak square, got the 2 bishops for his efforts. He wasn't just going to lie down. So already this is counterplay in a way where it's still very positional. This time it's not a material thing, but it's a positional thing. For the very weak b6 square, we exchange and get 2 bishops. Because we know the 2 bishops is a positional advantage, particularly when the center is open, these 2 bishops, and even more so in the endgame. So for this weak square, they got something in return. And now white will look at the d6 pawn, but for now it's not very weak since it's protected by the bishop. The rook takes the half c file. And again, naturally, you see some of these things, I was already saying it, and you are seeing it happen. Black understands his advantages, the 2 bishops. So the center must be open. And white's plan, he has realized his plan to put a piece on b6. Finally, he has done that. These 2 pawns are very bad. The bishop is quite strong. It chases the queen. And we are having a very tough negotiation so far. None of the players are lying down. So in this position, black was temporarily a pawn down. This was him not being afraid to sacrifice, because as I was saying, maybe let's try to see it from black's perspective. So as I was saying here, you should not attack where you are weaker. But let me first ask, who is stronger in the center, white or black? Who has more control of the center, white or black?
At the moment, it looks like white has more control.
Yes, very good. White is concentrated. Yeah, sorry, the mic was acting up now. But yeah, very good, Takuzwa. White is much stronger in the center. There is too many pieces for white that are attacking the central squares, having the queen and the rook there as well. So who would want to explain to me why Mr. Shirov played d5 here? How can you justify this move, d5? How can you give a good defense for this d5 move? It looks very unusual for someone to do d5 with all the limitations they have.
I think black wants to activate his bishop.
Black wants to activate the bishop?
The dark square bishop.
Yes, very good point. But it looks like he's losing material though. So usually when we evaluate, we always look for king safety number 1 and then material. So losing material, there are 2, by the way, there are 2 ways to lose in chess. You either get checkmated or you lose too many pieces, you must resign. So whenever we give up material, it's a very serious thing. So why is black sacrificing the pawn? So that's the first game is focusing on this. Don't fear having to sacrifice. So why is black not afraid to sacrifice this pawn on d5? Let's try to get in the player's mind. Why was he not afraid to counterplay? Because here he was going to have to worry about this knight sitting on d5, this one coming here, this one coming on c3, and the opponent is a very strong outpost, right? When this bishop takes this knight will sit there, and but of course in the right moment. Now it doesn't work because e4 is hanging, but that's the potential for white is to attack this d5 square. So why was black not afraid to sacrifice the d5 pawn? Okay, so Takuzwa said, for one, to activate the bishop. And as I've mentioned earlier on, when you have two bishops, opening up the position is usually one of your plans. But of course, that's a general plan. You must first calculate clearly to see if the position is going to allow you to do that. But of course, Shirov would have calculated far. Or of course, he has seen this. By the way, that's an important thing. If you want to play counterplay chess, you must make sure your calculation is very good. I must emphasize on that. You can't play counter-attack chess or counterplay chess if you don't calculate well. And I'm sorry, I have learned this lesson myself now. There is no other way to improve calculation than to calculate. Right? That if someone, now I'm sure many players think, how can I get better at calculating? Start calculating. There is no shortcut. Right? You can read all the Jacob Agat books. You can read all the books by, Mark Dvoretsky. You can read all sorts of books. You can watch all sorts of videos. You can be on chessboard 24/7. But if you want to calculate, you must start calculating. That's why this advanced class, I'm trying to get people to participate, to calculate, because they need to really stick with you. These games, that's how they remember games, because that's another thing I'm always trying to figure out. How do grandmasters remember so many games? They simply remember by getting the key moments. They really remember games by key moments. What was the key moment in the game? If you have a reference point, you can try to memorize the entire game. If that game had something interesting, like a motif, like the two bishops here, opening up the center, you can remember this game forever because of that motive. So for all of you to improve, to go from being advanced, so advanced, we're talking about what? Usually anyways, the rating group is from 1600 to 1800, or we can start 14 to 1800, depending on how the rating system is set out. So if you want to go on to being 19, 2000, and 2200, again, depending on how much time you have to work. Chess is about working hard, guys. There is no getting away from that. We must be willing to work very hard. So let's move a bit quick because of time. White has given up a pawn, but black has given up a pawn. He's not afraid to sacrifice because he understood that the activity of the bishops is going to get this pawn back at some point. It will give him enough counterplay. Other than that, because remember, who was paying attention when I was giving the intro? What kind of player is Alexei Shirov? What kind of a chess player is he? Sorry for all
He's
this.
an attacking chess player.
Yes, thank you. Attacking chess player. So he wasn't willing to sit here and defend the whole time passively. The best defense is counterplay. Again, for those that came late, I gave a very, okay. Let's just see who's a chess fan in the house. Well, what famous game is this position taken from? This has nothing to do with the lesson, but we might, since we have landed there, let's just see, because this is the advanced group, so I'm expecting a lot. So what famous game is this position taken from? It happened today. So let's really see how committed as advanced players you are at following recent games. Because that's another thing. If you want to go far in chess, you must follow recent chess games. Try to get as many ideas from them and learn from what the best players are doing. So who knows what game this position is taken from? I'll make it a bit easy. I'll give away the tournament. It's the African Open, the championship happening in Malawi. Which game is this position taken from? Yeah. Okay. I don't want you not to invite me next time for asking too many questions, but the game is taken from Jessie February's game. She was playing with the black pieces. So here in this position, she made a fork and simplified into an easy draw, which secured the tournament for her. And yeah, okay. So, but in general, these things, guys, you must start cultivating this habit to look at chess, to work on your chess. All I can do in this lesson is to at least give some impressions, and hopefully you take it away and really are intentional about working on your chess. Start finding a way you can really cooperate working on your chess and making plans to do it. There is no other way. Consistency is the key, and being actively involved in chess is going to really help. And I can see for sure, because you're committed to come to this class, so clearly you all want to improve. So that's a good sign already. But these are just some takeaway points that you can continue to add to already your chess development. So for those that came late, I was saying that counterplay or counter-attacking chess means this. Right, let me just make this position again. So let's make black to play. So counter-attack means this. The opponent has played rook to bishop to a6. Now, of course, for those that have been here, you don't have to give away the move. But let's hear, for those that didn't see this diagram earlier on, what would you play here? Just suggest a move. What would you play after bishop a6? What does the opponent want to do? Right? And what would you play? Okay, the opponent is attacking the rook, right? This is a real threat. The bishop is worth 3 points. The rook is worth 5 points. So we know this is a real threat. And I said this earlier on, only real threats must be defended, because if we don't defend real threats, we stand a chance to lose the game. So here, this is the very basic definition of counter-attack. When someone attacks a particular value of piece, this is worth 5 points. We simply make a bigger threat. That's what it means to counter-attack in chess. You create a bigger threat than the threat the opponent is making. Now, black has no time to capture here because we're attacking their queen. So now this is exactly the very basic position for how to know what counter-attack chess is. Is to make a threat more serious than the opponent's threat. And now here, the opponent has to respond. Queen must move somewhere. Maybe the queen pins our rook, right? Or something like that. We here, who can find another counter-attacking move? Because the threat still exists. There's a real threat in the position. The opponent can capture the rook on c4. So who can find a counter-attacking move here?
Rook e4.
Yeah, but what is the problem with rook e4?
No. What about queen h6?
Yeah, queen h6 is again another counter-attacking move. This does attack the piece of the same value, but with a serious threat. We threaten checkmate. So this is a counter-attacking move. But maybe this one is a bit not precise. It is, because we can checkmate. Rook f6 doesn't work because we checkmate. So this is strong, right? Takudzwa, this is another question we must learn to ask ourselves before we make a move. So this one we ask after every move by the opponent. After every move by the opponent, we must ask this question, right? What does the opponent want to do? Before, now this is the before we make a move.
Can we go back to that game again?
Sorry?
Can we go back to that game again?
Okay.
I want to ask about G4, Rook G4.
Yeah, this runs away, right? But I said try to find the counter-attacking move. So here you are not really attacking anything. There is no threat with Rook G4. You are running away from the threat. So I said to learn to counter-attack, what I'm trying to encourage, don't run away. Try to find something that you can attack. Make a bigger threat than the opponent. That's really what counter-attack chess is all about. When you are attacked, the first response is not to run away or to defend. It's to find a bigger threat. That's counterplay, right? So there's a few threats. Queen h6 is a very strong move. Attacks the rook and threatens mate. Another move that just simplifies to the endgame is queen to c3. This is again a counter-attack move. They have no time to carry their real threat because we take their queen and checkmate or win a lot of material, right? So here the opponent will have to capture, and we're going to this endgame where white is winning. Right? Sorry?
I think to play rook to e4, and if black captures the rook, and then you can play the queen to can you?
Yeah, and I see what you are thinking, but it's just not working somehow because the queen can go somewhere. I think you and Takudzo were seeing the same line, but the problem now, why is our move a blunder? That's what I was going to write there. Before you make a move, yeah?
D4. H6.
Queen h6.
Yes, H, yes.
But now it's not a threat. You are not giving check. So we don't have to worry about this. We can play queen here.
You can just go back.
All right, queen e7 defends the rook and mate.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's what I was saying. To play counter-attack chess, we must learn to calculate. Before we make a move, ask yourself, this is called the blunder check. What? No. Is my move a blunder? This is very important to practice. Whenever you hear grandmasters calculate, they are always asking themselves, how can my opponent refute my move? Basically, the blunder check. How is my move a blunder? Is my move a blunder? So if we ask ourselves, rook e4, is my move a blunder? We calculate far. Rook e4, queen captures, queen check, queen d4. It doesn't work. Queen h6, queen e7, it doesn't work. So we see beforehand that it is a blunder. That is a very healthy habit to introduce into your calculation, the blunder check. Always make sure you blunder check. Alexei Shirov had to do the same thing here. He would never have played this position if he had not seen all the key moments in the game. Because the opponent has real threats here. D7 is a threat picking up a piece. He had to see all this before it happened in the game. So if you want to play counter-attacking chess, you must practice calculation. And calculation is only done well when you ask yourself many questions. As I've said earlier, chess is a game of negotiating. You are negotiating in the mind by asking and answering questions the whole game. So finally, he regains his pawn. The opponent captures. Now, see, the negotiation has gone well. The opponent gets the bishop pair, because usually when you give away the bishop pair, you are trying to get rid of the bishop pair. Because as I've said, the longer the game goes, the bishop pair will be a very serious advantage in the endgame when the center is open. So Leko realized he'll give the pawn back, but at least you get the bishop pair. Now the position is even. We have position of opposite colors. So the more pieces that are exchanged, pieces, if they come off, there will be drawing chances. Knight to e4. Right. So what does the opponent want to do? Knight e4. What does the opponent want to do?
We want to try and double up black spawns on the F file, maybe.
Okay, that's the one thing. But what else does the opponent want to do?
He wants to trade queens.
To trade queens.
Yeah. Yes, to trade queens, but also really they are threatening to take our queen. If we don't move our queen, we'll lose a queen. We don't have time to take knight because we lose the queen.
Queens.
Yes.
He want to.
Yes, he wants to exchange queens. So we do go into that endgame then. We exchange now, but Tyler's point, the double pawns are going to be given anyways because it's a check. Again, this is a counter-attacking move. Agree? We said a counter-attacking move attacks something of higher value. So the opponent is taking 9 points, but we give check. And the rules of chess forces you to move. You must move. And we weaken the structure. And here, black has a... Now, I'll give you a few points. This endgame still brings winning chances. I know many of you, anyways, I don't want to assume, but let me just preempt it in case some of you think, bishop of opposite color is always a draw. That is a lie. Don't believe that for 1 second. Please, just follow the top players' games. These games are lost many times than you would believe. The only time it's a draw is if you can trade off these rooks. And even then, you must make sure you don't have weaknesses because there's still pawns on both sides of the board. Don't become very, very rigid in your understanding of chess. Just because you hear a general rule doesn't mean it's always true in every position. The general rule that is true in every position is this. If it's check, you must defend check. That you can take it to the bank. But anything else must be critically analyzed. Think critically. In the advanced group, really start to process these rules. Always develop knights before bishops. Always don't bring out your queen out early. Start to really make sure, of course, you must do these things. I'm not trying to encourage you to break rules in chess. Only when there is good reasons to do it, you can make exceptions. But in general, don't just accept chess as if you learn a rule, you must do it all the time. Like here, some of you might now go on when you play. Well, the teacher said in the lesson, when I have opposite side bishops, let me just open up the center. Doesn't mean lose all your pieces to open up the center. The position must allow you to do it. Because strategy and tactics cannot be separated. Strategy doesn't work if tactics is going to refute it, meaning it will be blunders. If the tactics don't allow our strategy to work, we must put our strategy to the side. The strategy must always be accurate to the position. Don't just follow strategy blindly. Make sure it is correct by tactics, because tactics can really make our strategy go to waste if it doesn't work. So now, black's plan in this position is to try to exchange a pair of rooks, because if the 2 rooks remain, white has winning chances to even start an attack against the king. So here, black tries to play actively by bringing up their rook and activating the king. Now, since we are covering all the parts of the game, we might as well do it now in this part of the game. What is the number 1 plan in the end game? What is the number 1 plan in the end game?
Want to push past pawns.
Okay, wanting to push past pawns. But before we even start pushing the past pawn, we need to create it first. So the number 1 plan in the endgame is you must create a pass pawn. That is the number 1 plan. Create the pass pawn, and then, of course, pass pawns must be pushed. Right, and the other thing is to king activation. The king must be centralized, because the king in the endgame can't be checkmated. Because I know some players like to play for checkmate even in the endgame, but you don't have enough pieces to play for checkmate in the endgame. So the king is safe to come out and really become an active piece, right? Now, the players agree to a draw because unfortunately, these weaknesses a weakness. This is again another thing that many players, they just say double pawns bad, double pawns bad. But how can black, if you can't attack weaknesses, they are not really weaknesses in that position. That's also what I hope that you guys take away from playing counterplay chess. Don't just believe a rule that it works in every position. Generally speaking, double pawns create weaknesses. But in a practical game, because counterplay is a practical tool, you can't play counterplay chess if you want to follow the rules of chess in every position. They must be proven right. Here, how can white even plan to attack this pawn? It's impossible. The bishop is parking the bus. You can't go anywhere here. There's no other piece to attack. This plan will never work. So this, in this position, it's not even a weakness because it can't be attacked. Though theory tells us it's a weakness, but in the practical game, it's not a weakness because black going here is not enough. There is one defender, there's one attacker and one defender. The bishop just stands very strangely on d8. So let's go on to the next game. Yeah, if I move any quickly, you must just ask me some questions. So here we are going to move a bit quicker because of time. So we play some d4 system. This is the Slav defense and the Moraine variation, semi-Slav actually. Very attacking line. We know these players. Anatoly Karpov, former world chess champion, very, very strong positional chess player. Boris Gelfand, a challenger to the world champion in 2012 in Anand. Very dynamic chess player. He appreciates attacking chess and has very good positional understanding. A universal chess player, can play, but really is known for his dynamic chess. So we can expect the game to be a blockbuster. So all of this is generally theory. You can check this with some database or just some good book on openings. So we have reached the mid game. We have the same pawn structure. By the way, this is another thing I didn't mention. When you are in the mid game, you always make a plan based on the pawn structure. So this is the pawn structure is similar. It's 1 versus 1 on the queen side and 4 versus 4 on the king side. And we have the same pieces. So this is a symmetrical position. And when the pawn structure is the same, usually the number one thing is to activate pieces. The person who can activate their pieces usually has a slight advantage. So this bishop is more active than this bishop. So it's natural that Karpov, in his positional understanding, let me exchange my bad piece for the opponent's good piece. Makes sense. So here a5, again, Gelfand showing his dynamic chess is willing to lose his weakness because this pawn is a weakness so that he can capture the pawn on a3. And that's what happened in the game. Now we really have a symmetrical structure. It's the same. The pawns are the same, 4 versus 4. So piece activity is going to be very important in such positions. And we see now the pieces being active. White starts activating their pieces. Sorry, what is the person's name? Socho. Will you please mute your mic? Thank you. Okay, so bishop h7, the pieces start getting activated. Looking at the king, the knight cannot move its mate in 1. Bishop c5, knight e5. And look, all the stuff I'm saying, you are seeing it happening here. The pieces are starting to get active because it's the same structure. Don't move pawns when you have the same structure. Try to activate your pieces. The person who has more active pieces in these positions usually has an advantage. So currently we can see, oh, that's another thing, by the way, I'll mention from this game.
Sorry.
Yes, sorry, Bafana.
Instead of playing the knight, what about you play bishop to c3?
So I see your idea. Bishop c3 trying to take the knight.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, bishop to c3, the opponent can play maybe h6. Okay. h6, takes. Okay, you get the pawns to be weak. but then I get 2 bishops. I think it's fine. It could be tried. There's no way to punish you tactically. I was thinking this, but it's not enough because bishop f6 is there. So h6 probably has to be played. But even better, actually, because I'm thinking there must be... Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can play that way. Bishop here. h6 defending the threat. Because takes, we can just take here. And then we have 2 bishops for the weak pawns. So we are not too upset about our weak structure. We are also threatening to just do the same thing to your position, and we have simplified. And actually, we don't want to simplify pieces. When you are attacking, so here white is the one who's attacking. So when you are attacking, you don't want to exchange pieces. You want to keep pieces on the board. Right? So that's why knight e5 is necessary. And like I said, the plan in this middle game of same pawn structure, activate pieces. So the topic here in this game is active defense. So active defense is not just sitting passively. It's trying to make threats. So h6 is necessary to stop this threat here. And now the active defense begins, trying to attack this bishop. This rook is now stuck defending there. We allow ourselves to exchange a pair of rooks. Again, active defense. That is a threat. That is a threat. So active defense is all about creating threats. Don't make it easy for your opponent to play with you. If your opponent can say after the game, well, I didn't have to worry about anything, you know, at least try to make the opponent work, you know, make the opponent work. And the only way to do it is to create threats. By the way, I must mention, I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. When you play actively and try to create counter-attacking by counterplay, by playing active moves, don't make the mistake of miscalculating, because some people take this too far. They end up hanging everything. Okay, we'll try to do that game quickly, but we'll go through it briefly because of time. Where Tao did that, where he just hanged every piece. He was losing completely during the game, but the opponent could not calculate because there was just too much. There was a mess on the chessboard. But for us to train it practically now, don't play like that. You can't play like that in every game because there will be too many calculations. This kind of chess requires you to calculate. Again, we should be seeing the game from Black's perspective. It will force us to calculate. So here they managed to exchange some pieces. Usually, again, active defense, we are always making some threats, you know. Though white's position is better, they have much better position, but we just keep making threats. And here, white is, the advantage is fizzled out. There is nothing anymore. We are going to be exchanging a couple of pieces. The same thing here, Karpov realizes the opponent is threatening the pawn on f2. Instead of defending passively, like, let me get an honest response. How many of you would have played rook f1 here to respond to rook a2? Because again, we must ask ourselves, what does the opponent want to do, right? So the opponent is attacking f2, not that way, with 2 pieces. How many would have played rook f1 or bishop e4?
I probably would have.
It looks like an obvious move. Looks like the natural move.
And that's the key word I was looking for. It looks like the natural move. So hopefully, anyways, after this, we are just showing you these positions and going over the different ideas. Let's try to get to the natural moves as a counter-attacking move. Here he's attacking 1 point, and this is a perfect definition of counterplay. Active defense. We don't defend the 1 point. We even attack the 5 points. Now, of course, there are tactics here. If he takes with the rook, we take with the bishop, simply winning. So this is active defense. Now let's go back to white's perspective. So that's active defense 101. If the opponent captures this pawn, we will capture the knight and the rook is hanging. and the bishop is hanging, they are losing. So they are forced to move out, and now they also do. What a game, huh? Both players playing active defense. The opponent continues making a threat, attacks the bishop, and renews the threat on f2. So anyways, but one thing you will see is that all this kind of chess requires accurate calculation, and the best way to learn to calculate is to calculate, but do it slowly. Practice more and more how to calculate. One plan I can recommend for you to work with, try calculating in pawn endgames. Just find a book that has a lot of puzzles on pawn endgames. They will really help you to calculate, because the pawn endgames, you can calculate to the final result. So really try to practice calculation. Here, there was no option. We must capture because the opponent's threats are now real. So our opponent has a slight advantage. We do active defense because we say the game is about negotiation. The opponent has the two bishops now. If we allow this to go any longer, we are going to be in trouble because the two bishops are stronger than the knight and the bishop. And here we do active defense. Counterplay, we attack this pawn, this rook, sorry. And we are even allowing a lot of exchanges. So if you are playing with the black, oh, I mustn't give away the move. If you are playing with black here, let's see if we have been learned anything with all these many examples and comments. What would you play here when if you are playing black? What would you play?
Play rook c2.
Rook c2. Okay.
I was thinking bishop takes d4.
e4.
Bishop takes d4. Someone said e4. Tyler, you said e4.
No, not e4. d4.
Yeah. Bishop d4.
Yeah, I didn't say it. Someone else said it. But,
Oh, okay, yeah, but what did you say? I wanted to hear what you said. Yeah, I heard bishop d4 by someone, but what did you say?
no, I didn't. I said d4 as well.
Okay.
D4.
So, moment of truth. Takudzwa, rook c2 is okay, I suppose. It attacks the knight, trying to emphasize, to put into practice what we are speaking about, counterplay. We are attacking the knight. We don't, okay, at least here we don't defend by running away. We defend by making a threat. It's good. And it's what was played in the game, right? Rook c2. Very good, Takudzu. We defend by making a threat.
Because
So,
can I say that there's also threat of a mate or sorry, no.
yeah, she wants to show a shine. She got the move that the master got. Very good, but it's simple from what we are learning today. Defend by making a threat. The guys that found bishop d4, it's not bad because I think you had seen this line. Probably you went this far. You go into this endgame somehow where it's a knight.
Yes, that's what I calculated.
Okay, yeah, I also considered that one. But here, I think black wanted to try to maintain some winning chances. That's why they played rook c2. And another easy way to just help us is sometimes if you are not sure why the other move is chosen, we can compare with the machine and see why the machine prefers such a move. So let's see quickly. So bishop d4 is not a bad move, but rook c2, like I said, at least keeps it a bit complicated and allows for winning chances. Because here, capturing here is not a bad move.
It's true.
Yeah, it's a draw. But at least rook c2, as Takudzwa said, sort of maintains the tension. And that's another important thing for you advanced players. Don't always be ready to exchange. Try to maintain tension. That's an important technique to learn, just to keep pieces on the board. By just letting pieces stay as long as possible on the board, someone will panic. There's a very funny quote by, what's his name now, Tatakova or someone. He says, if you don't have a plan, don't worry, your opponent will find a plan and it's bound to be bad. So leave pieces hanging, and then the opponent will have to make a decision. Because here we know we have some sort of an advantage positionally because of the two bishops, and we need our opponent to make a decision. And the opponent, of course, naturally finds the counter-attacking move. They kept doing it over and over again, the active play. You know, move back, and then finally the exchanges are made, and okay, the position will fizzle out into a draw soon enough. We sacrifice the pawn because the king must be active. This is an important principle. White is willing to sacrifice a pawn in this endgame because they want their king to be active. And Anatoly Karpov, being a very positional player, knows this. You can't play the endgame a king down, right? The king must be active, even if it means losing a pawn. It makes sense because now they activate the king, and it's either they play this way, right? F5, keeping the pawn, and then we have at least some counterplay. Our king can suddenly enter into the game than to play passively, because many players will be happy to sit here and hold a draw somehow. You can't hold a draw with your piece so inactive. Look at this king, it's terribly passive. It only has 2 squares. So don't be afraid to give up a pawn if you can prove that your activity will allow you, because now we defend with active pieces. Our king at some point can enter here. As we see, the concept is followed. We even lose a few more pawns, but we have a lot of pieces now close to the king. The rook and the king and all of that. And finally, the king makes its destination. It reaches g5. And here it looks like, okay, let's get some honest reviews. Who here thinks that this position is losing for white? Who thinks the position is losing and why? That's important to train, particularly for the advanced players. Learn to give a good reason why you are making moves. So you are saying white is losing, why? Okay, no one is confident enough to take the white side. Okay, and
I think white is not losing.
So
if it's
okay, the same thing. Why? Why do you think white is not losing?
If it's white turn to play, you can just first buy time by a rook, h6 check.
Rook h6 check, and then I play king to g8, or even better, king g8. Yeah. So
then you can maybe take that pawn on f5.
Okay.
Threatening at that fork. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, I didn't see that.
I'm making a queen. Huh? That's the whole idea. I don't mind you making a fork. You can go ahead, right ahead. It's fine. I can even attack your knight. Yeah. And after this, I make a queen.
Okay.
Because it's not mate anymore, right? If you give check, my king can escape. It's even check for you, so it's game out. So the reason why it's not losing just yet, this is very active defense. Yeah, we won't have time to go for this game or the other game I wanted to look at, but I think we've exhausted the subject. I'll simply add that game with Tao. Then you can just follow this game yourself. At least you have seen the concept. I've been saying them over and over again. Now try to understand them on your own as you do your practical parts to apply what you have learned in the lesson. Play through game 3. I'll also add game number 4, the one that was very crazy, where Tao just hanged everything and managed to draw because his opponent was confused by just the active counterplay. He could not find moves, even with a very big advantage. But of course, practical chess, even if you make a move that loses, but if it confuses the opponent, it's good enough. Because you can't play perfect moves on the chessboard. I must emphasize that. So counterplay, even if you make a move that loses practically, or it's worse, it's just bad, but you know it's going to work against your opponent's psychology. Like I've said, and you can check me on these things. Don't just believe me because I'm saying it. Advanced players must start being critical, start to ask questions, want to know more about the game. Don't just believe it because you are hearing it. Go and search these things. Daniil Dubov top player, but he's not afraid to make a bad move, even if it loses, so long as it confuses the opponent. You know, and it's not a surprise he likes Mikhail Tao, that he was inspired by his style of play, because Mikhail Tao is known for this. He used to make, and I'll add the fourth game there. You can check it on the link as soon as after the lesson. But let's just conclude here, because we can compare with the machine. The machine confirms what we are saying. Because of the counterplay, it's a draw. The counterplay correct, Takutzwa, was this. This creates mating threats. So unlike giving the check, and also that's another thing, don't always give check because you see check, right? Even though this one is not bad, but it allows the opponent to, if we don't blunder, of course, and play this check. G2 is not working apparently. Why is it not working? We get mated. Okay, yeah. So the idea was this mate, because I remember when I saw the game, the mate is with the knight and the rook. So instead of you go here, it's actually checkmate, because there's check and rook h8. So even black has to be careful, because that's the only thing I remember is this knight must be on f5. So actually rook h6 would not have been bad at all. So bishop, but the position is a draw because of the mate threats, blacks. So, and I hope it makes an impression. White has sacrificed a lot of pieces to get at the king. This is counterplay 101. The opponent threatens to get 9 points. We are threatening to take his game by capturing the king, because the aim of the game of chess is to checkmate the opponent. So that's proper counterplay in a nutshell. And quickly we'll play through the rest of the moves. Now white has even managed to get back his pawns, and the players repeated the position, and there is no progress really now that can be made. And usually people say, Karpov is a positional player, but actually positional players see more tactics and understand deeply the concepts that are needed to save positions. And at move 63, the players agreed to the draw. Again, we won't go through this game. You can now do that. I encourage the players to exhaust themselves with the game number 3 and game number 4. I also added to really now see that all these things I've been discussing with you and asking questions have really struck home and you've understood it. And if there's any questions, I'm open to receiving questions. I'm sure Michael can send questions. But before I go, maybe I can take one pressing question that anyone has that they need to be answered immediately. You can just give the question now. Okay. I think someone was speaking. Oh, okay. So if there's no questions, that's fine. Let me just maybe give a, oh, sorry, Burton, I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, no, it's not a question, Dion. I just wanted to ask that you just share the study because it's private at this point in time.
Oh, wait, I thought yeah. Maybe, how do I not make it private? Because this time I changed the setting, but apparently it's still private still this time. Okay, what must I put instead?
You just need to set it to unlisted. If you share your leeches, I can show you where it is again quickly.
Oh, okay. So let's do that. So here, study.
Yeah, instead the visibility, instead of invite only, that needs to be unlisted or public.
Oh, okay, great, wonderful. Okay, so now, yeah, the link I think I've shared with everyone. You can now access. I'll add the 4th game, and then you can apply what you have learned in this lesson. So let's just confirm that people have learned something. So let me hear from at least 3 people. What are 3 things that you have found useful in our time together? So you can name one thing and allow the other 2 people to name one thing. What are 3 things that you have found useful?
You can only calculate or get good at calculating if you actually calculate that. That part I like because I would, Michael would know, I would read the books. What I read the foreword and everything else, but I don't do the calculations.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, definitely. That I've learned the hard way. The only way to improve calculation is to calculate. Very good. Who else has something that they have learned tonight?
What I've learned
Always.
is that when your piece is being attacked, move it away and also cause an attack as you move it away.
Very good. Yeah, counterplay, right? Very good. I think
That's
Tyler, you were saying something.
Always
yeah,
look for
wait,
new attacking opportunities.
Always go for.
New attacking opportunities in the position.
Yes, very good. Rowan?
I also liked what you said when you don't be afraid to sacrifice, but also make sure that the sacrifice isn't a blunder.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Because then we don't want to just resign afterwards. Yeah, Chakudzu, sorry.
I've learned that you can play an end game with the king down. Like the king must be active.
Yes. Very good point. Wonderful.
Yes.
Cool. All right, I think we've gone over 1 minute now. I don't want to take any more time. Michael won't get me here ever again. So sorry. Michael, over to you.
Thank you very much. It was a very instructive session. I suppose we shall end the meeting there. If there's no more questions, we will be putting this on the YouTube channel if you missed any parts of it. Otherwise, yes, thank you very much, Coach. It was insightful.
Thank you for having me. It was fun. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.